through storms, unshaken, unbowed. Through trials and verdicts, still standing proud. A titan in the tempest, against the raging crowd. He's got a vision for the future, gonna shout it loud. Changing the wind, it's coming fast. A new foundation built to last. Cryptocurrency's the key, make the big switch. Power to the people, time to teach the rich. Legal battles can't hold him, he's moving on. With plans so bold, from dusk till dawn. He's rewriting the rules, a new dawn's day. From the hands of the few to the people.
Welcome, everyone, to the Crazy Cryptonaut channel. I am Zester, and I hope everyone is having a wonderful Trump day this morning. Hope everyone is off to a good middle of the work week, or, if anything, enjoying the insanity of the world. We've got some interesting news on the crypto side, and so it's a fairly exciting Wednesday. It's fairly exciting Trump day in regards to overall crypto news. But I'm going to say good morning to everybody, and then we're going to jump into it. Today, we've got a decent amount of articles. We'll also probably have a good amount of time for question and answer, though, because the articles are interesting, but there's not been so much to talk about on them. So let's get off and rolling. Good morning, Mile High Trish. Happy Trump Day to you. Happy Trump Day, Miss Kukla. And I saw this comment from you, Trish. Trish says, I have my Gemini card in hand now. What a cool card. Trish, I was just about to get ready. I went running to the mailbox to see if maybe I had mine, because I'm very excited. Is it actually made out of metal? It says that it's made out of metal. At least that's what it claims on the site. I was kind of curious if it ended up being real or not. Some kind of aluminum, I'm not certain. I'm excited. Good morning, Kathy. Good morning. Good morning, Mary Jones. Looks like we've got some weird temperatures all over the place. 50 in Colorado. Trish over there in the Mile High City, sitting in the 70s. Oh, wow. Yeah, there's a lot of disparity going on. I wonder what it's like in North Carolina today. I wonder what it's like. Down here in Puerto Rico, we're looking at a particularly hot day, but we've been having that for quite a while. It's been claiming to be around 88 degrees, but the feels like temperature has been well over 100 most days, but that's normal for down here. In all honesty, August and September really are awful months for the temperature in Puerto Rico. Good morning, Cecilia. Good morning. Kukla, Zester, think about having a podcast with Andy Schectman. It would be awesome to have him come on. Absolutely, Kukla. No, I need to, and specifically talk about the tokenization of precious metals and really dig into that subject with Andy, because Andy's talked about it a little bit sometimes when he's on different shows. I know I've talked to Andy about it privately in terms of how it works and how it's going to function in the coming financial system. And so I think we need to have those conversations publicly. I think people would get a lot of information, a lot of knowledge out of that, and might also get some folks thinking that maybe are kind of sleeping on the whole crypto side, because there is still a very large, I would say the vast majority of the current gold and silver holders, the demographic of gold and silver holders, are extremely ignorant in regards to how cryptocurrency works. And it makes sense. I mean, it is literally the polar opposite of essentially what the investment was for the past hundreds of years. Investing in gold and silver was meant to be a stable, physical way of maintaining your wealth, hoarding your financial wealth. And now going digitized, it's very logical that it's completely completely new to the entire industry. And so maybe having that conversation with Andy might open up a lot of the gold bugs and silver bugs' eyes to what their gold and silver is going to start to look like in the new system. It might be a really good, really good conversation. Might let a lot of people see where we're going. So I will have to talk to him, Kukla. That's a great idea. Good morning, Patty. Good morning. And Neil Brooks. Howdy, Zester from 77-degree Graham, North Carolina. Howdy, Neil. I hope you're having an awesome one. And 77 in September. September 24, 77. That's not too bad. Is it really humid, though, Neil? We should be starting to see the drop in temperature going on. Kukla, how is Tina, Tino, and Tommy? They are doing very, very well. Tommy was feeling extremely loving this morning, and my hair is, well, I'm probably going to need to take another shower sometime later today because Tommy was losing it over my hair this morning, and it's having a bit of a hard time staying in place at the moment. But a lot of that is because I haven't got a haircut because I hurt my ankle and I canceled my my hair appointment. I need one. Oh, Kukla, Miss Kukla Zester, you're making me feel old. I am sorry. I'm sorry, Kukla. No, not at all. I'm from the South. We just do that by accident. Neil Brooks, Zester, getting ready to take my XRP camper to Carolina Beach shortly. Time for some fishing. That is awesome, Neil. That is awesome. Catch a flounder for me and absolutely put out a blue crab trap because I would love to live vicariously through you, Neil, and a big old Carolina blue crab boil. Very important one. Very important one. Before I go jumping into the news and answering crypto questions, please do remember that the content in this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes and is not intended to provide financial advice. Please consult with a financial professional before making investment decisions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kukla. Let's do it, Zester. A lot of info to learn. Absolutely. And that may be one, though, where I go over and do it on the original Mark Z and then maybe have a recorded video over here. That way, as many people as possible hear about the good news, the good tidings of the new tokenized metal system that we're moving towards. All right, though. With all of that, let's jump over and let's start on the news of the day because I'm very excited to get to our first articles because, well, I'm excited for my XRP, and I think y'all might be excited as well. And so, overall market, actually, since just a few hours ago, the market has turned. And so, Bitcoin sitting at $113,703, Ethereum $41.93, XRP $2.93. And if we actually look at the charts, we will see that, well, we have seen a fairly precipitous change and turn in the overall market in the past 24 hours. We were sitting just earlier this morning at $2.81, up 12 cents since then, mainly being led, of course, by a Bitcoin surge of, well, fairly small proportions. We saw it go down to 111,000. Now we've bumped back up to 113,704. A lot of this seems to be tied to overall comments coming out of Jerome Powell's mouth. Over the past 48 hours or so, Jerome Powell has been pretty busy talking. And so, of course, last week we had the major break. Everybody was focused on overall interest rates. Were we going to have an interest rate cut? We saw our 25 basis point interest rate cut, but we also got a lot of comments from Jerome Powell about the fact that we're experiencing stagflation. He did not like to use the word, and I think that everybody over there is intentionally not using the word at the moment, but we're going to talk about that in the following articles after we get through our exciting XRP one. And I think you'll see that Jerome Powell is absolutely terrified of the idea of stagflation, and we'll jump in on that one. But overall, market slightly happier as of 11:39 Eastern this morning, but it was not looking that way just a few hours ago. And here is our big one, though. Here's what I'm excited about, because remember, guys, I told everyone this is what we really needed to be focused on. XRP ETF in and of itself is exciting, but it doesn't really mean jack squat. What does matter is how much money flows in to the XRP ETFs. And, well, XRP had a record-breaking launch for its ETF. Record-breaking. The Rex Osprey Spot XRP ETF opened with $37.7 million in debut volume. That is on the first day. That sets the record for 2025, making it the largest ETF launch of the year so far. We do have a few more months to go, and so that could change. But as of September 24th, XRP is currently holding the number one slot, $37.7 million in day one volume. Now, we also have something to kind of compare it to, because Doge launched, essentially Doge launched within the same time frame. Doge had a very successful first day. In all honesty, it made it into the top 10 of all ETF launch days for 2025, with somewhere around, I believe, $15 million in volume. I think it came up to $17 million in volume on day one. And so that kind of places it into perspective. XRP number one slot at 37.7 million. Dogecoin coming in over $20 million lower, still in the top 10. And so that means XRP really did dominate. For the year, it is definitely going to be tough to unseat its record. And so to place that into further historical context, we have had larger ETF launch dates, but they were specifically for Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they were last year. And so they did have higher day one volumes. I do not in any way take that personally as an XRP holder, especially considering that Bitcoin is the largest cryptocurrency on the planet. It is many times larger than XRP is today. And the same thing with Ethereum. It's logical that they would have had more volume on day one. And also, the ETF provider in this case, in terms of Rex, is not the Rex Osprey ETF. I don't believe is going to be the most successful ETF launch for XRP of 2025. And so, all of that stated, we had a particularly exciting announcement, all things considered, on that one. And, well, as I think we have all gotten somewhat tired of seeing, I bring very exciting XRP news, and then, well, it doesn't necessarily correlate to the overall price of XRP, but we did see a fairly general downtrend across the market, and we are seeing it bounce this morning. And so we may be starting to see a little bit of a recovery. We need to see Bitcoin sitting fairly solid in its price if we're going to expect XRP to really have an opportunity to run up its price. Essentially, no matter how much we may dislike it, the market is still tied to the price of Bitcoin. The overall market of Bitcoin controls the cryptocurrency market in a large way. If Bitcoin is going down, it's extremely hard for XRP, Ethereum, or any other crypto to be going up. It requires a massive amount of upward buying pressure and an extremely low amount of selling pressure in order to push a crypto up while Bitcoin is going down. And so I'm expecting to see over the next week kind of what the market thought of the XRP ETF debut. I don't really think that the market's fair today in terms of looking at that one. And so very exciting in regards to that one. The author here goes on to speculate in regards to different price levels and where we can expect. One of the interesting things I think in terms of this one is in regards to overall volume and what we could expect just purely calculating that off of ETFs. And so I strongly believe that we're targeting more of the $5 range, assuming our ETF growth continues as it is currently. I am leaning far more towards the $5 plus growth area by some time in, and you'll see why I'm pausing for a second, because Ripple to welcome 7 more XRP ETF filings by year end of 2025. And something I really want to target here is that we have got a variety of different ETFs that are all going to have their SEC deadline come between October 19th, October 20th, October 24th, October 25th, and October 25th. That is 5 XRP ETFs that are all set to be live, assuming they are approved by the SEC, by somewhere around the 20 range of October. And so I am personally assuming ETF rates continue and overall volume into the ETFs in a positive fashion, not volume outflows, not outflows, inflows into this ETF continues as expected. And we then have 5 more spot XRP ETFs coming near the end of October. I think that that $5 range that the author here is predicting is very, very possible. In all honesty, by that end of October range, please remember, this is not investment advice. This is Zester's opinion, a guy who goes by crazycryptonaut online. And so not in any form or fashion financial advice, but I do tend to actually agree with the overall author on this one. And I don't normally agree with the price prediction articles. I typically am very, very, very cautious. I think that they're overly speculative. But with the current numbers, we are on a logical path, assuming the ETF continues its overall growth at a continuous pace. And we do have 5 more ETFs come along with it near the end of October. That $5 price range is starting to make a heck of a lot of sense. And so this one is extremely interesting. I know a lot of folks were kind of looking towards what day can we expect a whole buttload of XRP ETF news and excitement. Well, it looks like it's going to be this week. It's going to be late October where we're going to see some really, really big moves. And it's followed up by Franklin Templeton coming in on November 14th. And so in all honesty, we're really on an awesome, awesome track on that front. And well, this is just 2025. We'll have new and varied ETF opportunities coming in 2026. I'm certain we'll probably start to have more combined ETFs, mixed ETFs. These are specifically spot ETFs for XRP. We talked about ETFs, I believe, in either the last stream or the stream before that. We talked about how there are a variety of different types of exchange traded funds. And so expect there to be more variety in the coming year, but very, very exciting. Patty Perry, question, Zester. How does the ETF affect XRP? And so, Patty, what's really important about the ETFs is that they provide an opportunity for traditional finance to very easily move their money in to an asset that has exposure to a specific crypto asset. In this case, an XRP ETF. And so they're able to buy shares of this XRP ETF, and this ETF is essentially tied to XRP, spot XRP price. And in doing so, it allows for an extreme reduction of barriers because these traditional financial avenues, they don't need a crypto wallet. They don't need to even ever hold the crypto. They don't hold it. They hold a share inside of their typical stock management accounts, and that share gives them exposure to that crypto asset. And so it makes it extremely easy to gain exposure to cryptocurrency, and it allows for different financial vehicles to invest in effectively cryptocurrency. And so, Patty, those are the things that are very exciting. The real factor about how much it affects the value of XRP or whatever crypto it is really comes down to how much money flows into the ETF. And so it's essentially an area that's made it very easy to invest. It's opened up dollars that aren't allowed to go out and buy actual crypto and just hold it in their own wallet. And so in doing so, we've really opened up the potential of the market. Is the way that it's typically viewed. But the real determining factor on it, Patty, is how much money. And that is why this information, this news in regards to the XRP debut of the first ETF, breaking records for the year of 2025, that's why it's so exciting. Because there was a legitimate danger, Patty, that the ETF launches and no one buys. And if that had happened, we would be looking at a very, very unhappy price chart for XRP right now. It would have lowered the price because in the minds of many crypto investors, they would say, oh, other investors aren't valuing XRP. Why am I valuing it? They would consider selling it. And so in many ways, this was extremely exciting news. It was kind of a hurdle that we needed to get past. We needed to see that there was a lot of institutional demand for an XRP ETF, and we saw that. And so that was very, very good. That was very, very good. All right, all right. Good morning, Jeremy. Good morning, good morning. How are you doing, man? Yeah, how much coffee can I buy with my XRP? Well, you can buy coffee on freedomforged.coffee, actually with XRP. So you very much could do that, Jeremy. I think right now you'd need probably about 6.5 XRP to buy one of the fancy bags, I think. All right. D Rambo, so does that mean we should buy the Rex Osprey XRP ETF? D Rambo, of course, this is personal. This is definitely would be in the category of a personal decision if you have money that can only move into an ETF. Me personally, I would never touch it with a 10-foot pole because not your keys, not your crypto. Remember, an ETF means you do not actually hold the crypto. I know how to buy crypto. I'm just going to go ahead and buy the actual crypto itself rather than doing that. But I'm different. I'm entirely different from the person who has all the money. I'm not the type of person who has all the money. These institutional investors, these financial services, these companies, they have all the money. And for them, it matters. For me, I would never do. No interest, zero interest in owning a single share of a crypto ETF. But that is because I do not have any long-term Roth IRA investments. I don't have that. And so in all honesty, if you were somebody in an entire category where a lot of your money was caught up in these different type of retirement plans, where you do have some control over what you choose to invest in, well, this would be huge. And D Rambo, if that were the situation, I would be. If my money could only be invested into these ETFs, that's where it would go. But I don't have any of those retirement financial vehicles. So for me, I would much rather personally hold it. Not your keys, not your crypto. I'm happy to hold it on my wallet and have full control of it at all times. But that's, D Rambo, definitely very, very important context because it really depends on what situation you are in financially, whether it makes sense. Reno Hightower, why does Ripple / XRP never increase the valuation? Well, Reno, that's a great question. It's always frustrating. But essentially, Reno, we have seen a massive increase. XRP's run from the 50-cent area to over $3 was one of the largest runs of any major large cap cryptocurrency of the overall year. So we have seen a lot of growth, but we have been sitting fairly stagnant since then. $3 and anywhere around it for the past couple of months has seemed to be where XRP is happy. Reno, that is not weird at all. Whenever an asset has a very, very large price increase like XRP had, it has got to trade sideways. No asset can continually go up. It can't. It has to stop. It has to consolidate. Because the more an asset continually goes up, well, look at the investors. They're all in the profit. And human psychology does not work that way. People are going to start selling. And so there's a whole other factor that often comes in and is often used by analysts when viewing an asset. And what they'll look at is what percentage of the holders are in the green. What percentage of holders are in the green? Because that is an actual factor to view and to see where you're going to start having weakness. People are massively up on their XRP investment, massively up. And in all honesty, in terms of traditional investment, if you have not sold after you have gone 8x on an investment, that would be viewed, any financial advisor would say that you're a maniac. You're a maniac. To have not sold at 8x, you have 8 times your investment and not taken profits. Anybody in traditional finance, any financial advisor will look at you and say you're a maniac. You're an absolute maniac. But we are maniacs to a degree when it comes to XRP. But that's the way to look at it, Reno. Essentially, we have to take it out of the context of ourselves, and we have to go and view it as how would another investor be viewing it. And in that regard, we need a consolidation period. And I think that we're going through that, and I think we've held fairly steady through it. But Reno, I do believe that we're not far off from being able to take another leg up. That's why I am very excited about the end week of October now. May end up being a whole bunch of nothing, but there's a whole lot of things coming together for the end of October at the moment. Wow, Patty Perry. Wow, thank you. This is exciting for XRP and us that are holding. It is. It's extremely exciting. It is extremely exciting. I do want it to go faster. I do want it to go faster. Instead of crypto, I'm listening to a sword-making investor. He makes an excellent point. Good one, Gary. Michelle, Zester, does XLM have a future? Would you be better to trade it? Michelle, I hold XLM and I don't intend on getting rid of it. Michelle, XLM has been a little slow. Stellar, the company, has been a little slow at getting things done. That is definitely true. But ultimately, Michelle, XLM and what is it attempting to do, I believe serves a very large purpose in the new financial system. And I do believe that there will be more than one company that is, say, tokenizing gold and silver. There's going to be competition. We do not want one crypto to win. No matter how much we may be personally benefited by XRP being the only winner, that is a dystopian world. And so, Michelle, I do view Stellar as having a future. I view a lot of other crypto companies as having a future. And I think we're going to have a lot of these different cryptos are all going to be cohabitating, coexisting in the future financial system. They're just going to be busy doing different things or providing people with choice. We're going to have a variety of different stablecoin providers, a variety of different precious metal, tokenized precious metal providers. There's going to be choices. And so, Michelle, I think that Stellar absolutely serves a purpose in the future. I think they need to either find their niche or they need to get busy tokenizing silver real darn fast, though. I am a little impatient with them, I suppose you could say, Michelle, but it has not in any way altered my faith in terms of the other thing. It has not altered my faith, just given me a little bit of hesitancy. Born and bred in Oregon. Good morning. I still don't understand crypto or how it works, or how to set up an account. Where can I go for the basics? Crypto for dummies. Are we still into XRP? Born and bred in Oregon. Well, welcome. XRP is definitely still a crypto that is dominating in terms of what it's providing and what it's making happen. And in terms of crypto for dummies, I do have on the channel Born and Bred, if you go to the very, very, very first live streams, there are some cryptos for basic live streams where I go through a lot of really simple things. But I'd also say you're probably good off just hanging out with us. Most of the time during the streams, I'm answering people's questions. And in that regard, you're going to end up getting a lot of answers. You're going to learn a lot of things from other people's questions. And of course, feel free to ask them. And so for the basics, though, Born and Bred, your first step is to get an account with a centralized exchange. And so Coinbase is the one that I tend to recommend first. But there's Gemini, there's Kraken. There are a lot of options. Assuming by the fact that you're born and bred in Oregon, I'm going to assume you're a U.S. citizen. And so that means Coinbase, Kraken, and Gemini are all great choices for you to look into. And the reason you need that is because that's where you're going to buy your first crypto. That's where you're going to sell your first crypto in order to, say, bring money back to your bank account. You need an exchange. And so that would be step one, Born and Bred. Would be going and watching some of those basic videos that we've got on the channel and then going ahead and just setting up an account. And don't set up an account and start throwing money into it. Set up an account and learn how it works. It doesn't take more than $10 thrown into an account in order to be able to learn how to do absolutely everything that you possibly ever could in the world of cryptocurrency. And so the best way to do it is to start small, Start easy with an exchange and then ask lots of questions. But I'm super happy that you're starting your journey, born and bred, and I am happy to have you here. Yeah. Diane, totally with, and you're not alone, born and bred again. Diane Main, I am with you on that. I'm still trying to understand it all. It does. It is very, 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 very intimidating at first sight. Ultimately, it seems as if there's an extreme curve to the overall learning of crypto and getting comfortable with it. I will say it's more intimidating at first than it actually is. It is definitely more of a paper tiger. It seems insanely difficult. When you get started, you start to find that there are rules and that the rules tend to hold steady and that it starts to get a lot easier. One of the things, though, that you'll always find in the world of crypto, and this affects me to this day, there are always new innovation. There's always new products. There's always new ways for exchanges to operate. And that means that the learning never really ends. I still regularly will have things sent from people in the community, or I'll find something new, and I will have to spend 30 minutes figuring out how this new exchange or this new protocol works. We are still in a period of rapid innovation and evolution in terms of the technology. And so there is no real thing as someone who has just fully got all of it locked in, never needs to go back to class, never needs to learn a thing. We're all on the same journey together. We're all walking the same path. Good morning, Shannon. Good morning. All right. Let me try to catch up. Zester, still planning on one-on-one training. Absolutely am. I'm just not jinxing it anymore. And so I will not mention it until it's live. When it's live, I'll mention it because last time I thought I had it all ready to go. And then I didn't. And so I don't want to get everyone excited about it and then pull the rug out from under. I want to make certain that everything is perfect, and then I'll let everybody know. But definitely is coming, Googler. Thank you. Thank you for asking that one because I had not mentioned that. Diane Main. So when you are in the high green, it is time to sell and buy somewhere else. Diane Main, what typically, and so I'm, of course, not financial advice. But Diane, what you would typically see in terms of a professional financial advisor, what they would do is they would consider that as a time that you would need to rebalance your portfolio. That essentially your portfolio would have then gotten outside of itself. And say XRP in this situation would then be a massively dominating portion of your portfolio. Whereas the traditional, the Warren Buffett of the world would say we should probably diversify these funds. Diane, when I say this, though, I'm talking about this from a sense of what traditional finance was. And so, Diane, I'm talking about this from people who are used to traditional finance. These are the stock market guys. These are the financial advisors. That's the institutional money. And the institutional money, that's how they act. Institutional money is going to look at that, and they're going to say, we need to rebalance our portfolio. They're going to say, we need to secure these profits. Because remember, until you click the sell button, you have not made anything. If your XRP is up 800%, 1,000%, and you have not sold, you have not made any money. And so on the screen, those numbers are larger. This is a very important thing. The prices of crypto can change drastically. And so many people are going to secure their profits. Diane, that is just a traditional, very, very normal thing to occur. And that's why it's regularly a concern for a market to continually go up. At some point, when it turns down, it's going to turn down in extremely violent fashion. The more that a specific asset runs up in continuous price, essentially think about it this way. The higher you are, the farther you fall. And so it's a lot better to have consolidating periods. It doesn't mean you need to sell, Diane. It's just a matter of understanding the logic of what's happening. What's happening is we're consolidating, and that is a good thing. We need the price of XRP to consolidate. Now, Of course, we all want it to keep going up, but it is a normal step. Blues Dog, your thoughts with cash going down? Should some of our cash go into stable coins and some into Glenn? That's a great question, Blues. And I wish I knew whether we were going to see a better option on that one, because we do have like Pax Gold, we have tokenized gold, we already have those type of options. Personally, Blues Dog, at the moment, my funds, any funds I get, are going into precious metals. That's just me, because, well, going back to that whole idea of balancing an overall portfolio, my crypto has massively taken over the percentage of my portfolio. I am highly, highly centralized in that fashion, and I need to essentially spread it out. I need to start putting some eggs in other baskets. Me personally, I am going for gold and silver at the moment. But that's different for every single person's situation. I'm balancing my portfolio in that way. And so don't take that as me saying that's the thing to, I'm not telling anyone what to buy. That's merely just a matter of my overall strategy at the moment. D Rambo, question, Zester, did you receive my email with a video link of the gentleman who explained the backdoor price of XRP? D Rambo, I did, and I have been looking into it because honestly, I'm trying to refute it. D Rambo, it seems too good to be true, but I am still going through it. And so D Rambo, I haven't had enough time to dig entirely into it because, well, I'm trying to actually go through his numbers, and needless to say, that's taking a while. D Rambo, it's very, very interesting. It's very interesting, and I get where he's coming from in terms of his idea of the price of XRP, but it is heavily reliant on assumptions. And that's where I'm not of the belief that we're going to have a massive XRP buyback. And I really need an explanation in regards to the overall burn rate of XRP increasing if we're going to see this type of price tags. But D Rambo, I'll on Friday, I think I'll have a better response to that one for you, D Rambo, because it was a lot to dig into. It was a whole lot to get digging into. Diane, okay, Zest, I'm going to watch your earlier videos. I'm looking on Coinbase website. Thank you. Oh, welcome. Thank you so much, Diane, for joining us, and happy to help. All right, looking at the time, I am trying to get myself all distracted. All right, let's get into the rest of our articles. An interesting one here. We talked about something similar to this actually a week or so ago. How do the world's major religions view Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? A closer look at how Christianity, Islam, and Judaism view Bitcoin and crypto. I won't go through all of this because, well, it's a lot. But to kind of set the stage for you on that one, since the invention of money, the major religions of the world have grappled with its effect on human morality, the unequal distribution of wealth, and the indignities of poverty. Through money, even the incorruptible can become corrupted, said the 19th century Hasidic rabbi Menachem Mendel. My apologies for probably butchering the pronunciation there. Then moving on. Therefore, if they desire to invest their money, let them exercise diligent care, lest they be snatched by cupidity, the source of all evil, wrote Pope Benedict in a 1749 encyclical. Wealth is the tribulation of the soul and the plunder of calamities, warned Shia scholar Abu al-Fath al-Amidi. Now the three Abrahamic religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, are encountering a new type of money in the form of cryptocurrency. And so we talked about this one a little bit in terms of, well, in Islam, anything that bears interest is considered to be against the Quran. And so there was a very large debate amongst Muslim countries over whether cryptocurrency was viewed that way or not. And so this is just a very interesting one. This is not, I don't want to go getting the channel in trouble by talking too much religion and by digging too far into the overall logic exactly of all of that one. But I did think that it was very, very interesting. I enjoyed it a lot. And so I wanted to share it with everyone else because I think it places a whole different mindset at viewing the new financial system based off of blockchain technology. It takes it out of the context of just purely numbers, and places it into a far more human and cultural perspective of how are the world's religions, how are the world's faith structures and systems going to adapt? How are they going to evolve on account of this? It's very, very interesting. And so that article is inside of the chat for anyone who wants to check that out and go for a very interesting read. Very, very interesting. It even breaks down some of the differences between maybe different cryptocurrencies and the idea that we may live in a world where certain cryptocurrencies are considered comfortably halal, where others aren't. And also the idea of, okay, you can't earn interest on something, otherwise it would be considered against God, against Allah, like Ethereum. So you couldn't stake your Ethereum because that would be an interest return, but you could potentially hold Ethereum. Very, very odd, very, very weird, very, very weird. And so, yes, I would love to dig deep into this one and really dive exactly into the religion and everything else behind each of these different things. But undoubtedly, I will get in trouble. And also, well, this isn't a theology channel, although theology happens in this situation to be very, very much correlated with crypto. And so, an interesting one. Yeah, this is something I'm going to be following along with more. A whole different perspective on crypto and the new system that really hadn't taken enough time to consider or hadn't viewed how important it could be. So yes, that one has been shared. That one has been shared a few times. D Rambo, I really want to comment on that article. However, I might get the channel in trouble, so I'm going to sit on it. I appreciate that, D Rambo. I was of the same perspective on it, D Rambo. So going back, and so remember we talked about this one on Monday, and I had really blamed a lot of things on whales. I had very much blamed that overall very, very rapid price decrease on whale activity. And it seems as if we're getting a little bit of a confirmation on that one. And so we saw a sudden $200 billion crypto sell-off, which of course sparked new fears. But we've seen a very, 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 very dramatic return back to the overall price area that it was in. We've seen a little bit of an end to the overall downtrend. And so it would appear as if we had some whales doing whale things, although there are a lot of other considerations and factors, a lot. And everything from SEC making their different announcements. We've had Goldman Sachs quietly admit to some growing fears over the US dollar. We can't go ahead and pin all of this on one specific thing. But overall, it does appear as if our weekend little price movement seems to have been a manipulation. It seems to have been manipulated by a group of whales, but we'll never be able to prove it, and we probably will never figure out who those whales even are. All right, going in the absolute opposite direction of people worrying about the price of crypto going down, let's go and look at somebody who thinks it's going to go massively up. Crypto billionaire Arthur Hayes predicts $3.4 million Bitcoin by 2028. And so Arthur Hayes predicts that Bitcoin will achieve $3.4 million by 2028 based on Treasury Secretary Bessent's yield curve control and massive money printing. And so Arthur Hayes, in terms of his overall prediction on this one, it really ties into a lot of things we've talked about. Arthur Hayes believes that the United States Federal Reserve is going to continue massively printing dollars in order to attempt to stimulate the job market. We've talked about this. The job market is not going to be easy to stimulate, and stagflation is a situation where essentially it's no win. We lower interest rates, we lose. We raise interest rates, we lose. We increase monetary supply, we lose. We decrease monetary supply, we lose. It's a situation where we always lose. There is no risk-free move that the Federal Reserve can make. What Arthur Hayes is predicting is that the Federal Reserve is going to massively ramp up inflation, essentially. And that the Federal Reserve is going to attempt to protect the wealthy over attempting to protect the job market. And that it's going to essentially make a choice. It's going to choose which one it's going to say. And that essentially Arthur is arguing that, well, throughout human history, we've seen that central banks tend to go directly towards saving the wealthy, the entrenched power, and attempting to maintain the status quo. This also ties in, though, to the general idea we had talked about also in terms of the Russian foreign minister coming out and saying he believes that the United States plans on wiping out its debt through the utilization of cryptocurrency, stable coins, and gold. And one way of doing that would be massive ranking up of overall inflation and of monetary supply, thus decreasing the value of the US dollar and then being allowed to manipulate it. Very interesting opinion, essentially, from Arthur Hayes. Extremely high number to imagine. $3.4 million Bitcoin in a matter of essentially 3 years seems a little hard to stomach. But his argument is that his price target is directly tied to the current yield, yield curve control. And so he's arguing that he derived his number by just taking exactly what Treasury Secretary Bessent had said was going on. Of course, this is speculative. This is entirely speculative, but it's always good to see what folks' opinions and thoughts are. He makes a fairly solid argument. Do I think he's entirely correct? No, not in the slightest. But you have to also think of this one from outside of just Bitcoin. Remember, the price of cryptos are still very heavily tied to the value of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes to 3.4 million, well, where does that mean Ethereum and XRP are sitting at? They would have to be imagined that it would be a massively higher market cap. We will all find out together on that one in the coming years, but an interesting take. I mean, he's got a heck of a lot more money than me, and so I suppose that makes his opinion more important than mine. And so it has to be taken seriously to some degree. I'm tossing that one into the chat so that everybody can decide on their own what they think of Mr. Arthur Hayes' predictions. Just in case. All right. Yeah, Deborah Muse. Well, 5 years ago, most of my friends thought Bitcoin was evil. I enjoyed my 8x profits. Hey, there you go. All right. Let's jump to our last couple of articles. The top 10 fastest growing blockchains of the year, ranked by active users. And so this one, well, just kind of interesting to see. Solana coming in at number 1 on fastest growing blockchains. That makes a lot of sense with the meme coin craze that we've seen over the past year. Makes a lot of sense. But we start to get into some oddities as we go further down. Near Protocol coming in at 2nd. BNB Chain coming in at 3rd. Base at 4th. Tron at 5th. Really didn't expect that one. Bitcoin at 6th. Aptos 7th. Ethereum coming in at 8th. Another highly unexpected one. Polygon at 9. And Arbitrum coming in at number 10. Overall, what some of the things are that the article and that a lot of the different, specifically the survey that went out on this one, the study that was conducted, one of the major factors that it found was that it seemed as if stablecoin growth or stablecoin launches, more stablecoin use on the blockchain was one of the primary drivers of more crypto wallets being opened. And so this study was done based off of how many new wallets are being created. And so how many active users does the blockchain have each month, and how much is that increasing? And it seems as if through the study that the major factor was stablecoin growth. And so the growth of stablecoins seems to be kind of predicting which blockchains are going to see the most growth themselves, which is very logical with the Genius Act coming out and etc. One major, bummer here was that XRP was not on this list. And XRP, remember, RLUSD, the first stablecoin offering from Ripple, came out this year, and it has not been out for that long. And so a little bit of a behind the eight ball situation for XRP in terms of overall wallet growth. I would expect for this to flip. And so coming in next year, I would expect for us to see XRP very near the top. If stablecoins and tokenized real world assets seem to be one of the primary drivers of blockchain growth, well, then XRP is definitely in for one awesome year on that front. And going over for our last two little articles, actually our last of last articles is just entirely for fun because I found it and I thought y'all might be interested. But for our last article related to the markets, Fed Chairman Powell says rising inflation and slow hiring pose a challenging situation. These remarks come less than a week after the Fed cut interest rates. And so this is what I've been talking about. Chairman Powell warned a recent uptick of inflation alongside a hiring slowdown poses a challenging situation for central bankers as they aim to steer the U.S. economy through a turbulent period. And so the downside risks to employment have risen, says Jerome Powell. He then goes on, and this will very much sound like what we've been talking about. Two-sided risk means there is no risk-free path. This is stagflation. This is stagflation. He's just not using the word. He's saying the exact definition of stagflation. He literally defined the term. And yet he's not using the word. And it's because that is a no word. It's very, very much a terrifying word because there is no answer. There is no answer that the central bank can take. And that freaks out people in the financial space. Absolutely freaks them out because you can't go to Poppy and expect Daddy to fix everything for you. You can't go back to Papa Jerome Powell and say, hey, Dad, can you bail me out of my situation? Well, when you have a situation such as stagflation, you don't have that ability. You can't get bailed out that way. We've seen this happen. We have many, many, many historical references to go back to in terms of seeing how difficult getting out of a stagflation cycle can be. And that's exactly what Jerome Powell is talking about here. He's saying it in every single way without using the word. For our last article, not related to anything crypto at all, but very, very related to our communities. YouTube is set to start reinstating accounts that were banned for spreading misinformation. And so, for everyone out there who currently has YouTube accounts they're not allowed to use, that they got banned from possibly years ago due to jabs or whatever that may be, you may have your YouTube account back. You may finally have your YouTube account back. And so YouTube will allow creators whose accounts were terminated for repeated violations of COVID-19 and election integrity policies to rejoin the platform, according to a letter that YouTube parent company Alphabet sent to Representative Jim Jordan on Tuesday. Reflecting the company's commitment to free expression, YouTube will provide an opportunity for all creators to rejoin the platform if the company terminated their channels for repeated violations of COVID-19 and election integrity policies that are no longer in effect. Alphabet's legal counsel, Daniel F. Donovan, wrote, YouTube values conservative voices on its platform and recognizes that these creators have extensive reach and play an important role in civic discourse. Oh, is that not quite a turnaround coming from YouTube and Alphabet? I just couldn't. This one has nothing to do with anything crypto related, but I just could not share it. As a matter of fact, I think you're going to have Pops. You're probably going to see this article a second time because I think Pops is going to be talking about this one during the evening news. If I had found it a little earlier, you probably would have heard about it on the original Mart Z this morning because he is going to have a field day with this one. And think about how many people in the conservative movement this affects, there are a lot of channels that might be finally coming back to YouTube. If they're willing, some may refuse to come back. Some may stay on Rumble, but there is most likely going to be a fairly massive shift back to YouTube of a lot of different conservative podcasters. And that's a good thing. We want as many people being able to hear conservative voices as possible, because ultimately, if YouTube is the home of liberal podcasters, well, that's a bad thing, because YouTube is the largest streaming service on the planet. And so we want conservative voices. We want conservative streaming to YouTube. And so it is exciting in that regard. I know that a lot of people are going to still be a little too upset to want to come back for a while, but I look forward to everyone coming back, because it increases conservative voices' reach. And so with all of that, thank you guys so much. Love you all. I will see you tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Whiskey and Wisdom over on the original Mark Z. And also, I will be announcing it, and I'll be sending it to Kukla and everything else. But as of right now, there is a video that is supposed to be coming out on the Crazy Cryptonaut channel tomorrow. But I have been in a regular cycle of jinxing things. And so hopefully I didn't just jinx it right there. But all right, love you guys. See you very soon. If I don't see you at Whiskey and Wisdom, see you right back here, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday. Peace, y'all.